The majority of the people of the emerging world are not being given the opportunity to learn or experience the truth of stewarding the earth. To create stewardship business, to close the gap on social systemic problems in the emerging world by creating new opportunity through jobs, products and services that brings glory to our Creator and blesses people along the way by adding value to their life. The emerging world is home to 2/3 of the world's population, 85% of the world's poor, and encompasses the nations of North Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. It is the center of the world's population. The average person lives on less than $2.50 a day. Most people living in the emerging world do not have access to basic services including healthcare, education, safe drinking water, and adequate education. Over 3 billion people are denied the freedom to even teach ideas, much less have the opportunity to pursue education. It is the center of the world's religions, home to the birthplaces of Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and Hinduism. It is the center of the world's oldest cultures and languages, and is bombarded with systemic social problems. The poor in the Western world live in relative poverty to the rich in the upper class of society. The poor in the emerging world live in absolute poverty, where they are starving to death, freezing to death, because they cannot afford shelter or food. In the emerging world, 18 million deaths a year, or 50,000 per day, are due to poverty-related causes, according to the UN. That's 270 million people since 1990, the majority being women and children, according to the UN Millennial Campaign. And according to the Human Development Report, 1 billion children live in absolute poverty. 22,000 children die each day due to poverty. 1 in 3 children live in absolute poverty. 1 in 5 children live without access to safe drinking water. 1 in 7 children have no access to health services. And 1.4 million children die each year due to the lack of access to safe drinking water and sanitation. In the emerging world, according to the UN Millennial Campaign, every year more than 10 million children die of hunger and preventable diseases. That's 30,000 per day, or 1 every 3 seconds. And the World Health Organization states that 13 million people die every year from infectious and parasitic diseases we know how to prevent, like diarrhea, malaria, and tuberculosis. According to the UN Millennium Campaign, every year nearly 11 million children die before their 5th birthday. And the World Health Organization states that 6,000 children in the emerging world die every day due to the lack of clean water and sanitation. In the emerging world, according to the Human Development Report, over 1 billion people live on less than $1 a day, with 3 billion people living on less than $2.50 a day. 1 in 4 people in the world have almost no land, very little money, and virtually no education, according to the UN. The richest 20% of the world holds 75% of the world's wealth, according to the Human Development Report. 800 million people go to bed hungry every day. And according to World Bank, in 2002, only 59% of India's population could read. Human trafficking, corruption, prostitution are all systemic social problems in the emerging world. In light of these systemic problems, the emerging world is a great place to learn how business can create opportunity for holistic transformation. According to Peter Drucker, business exists to supply goods and services to customers and economic surplus to society, rather than to supply jobs to workers and managers or even dividends to shareholders. He also states that the ultimate resource in economic development is people. It is people, not capital or raw materials, that develop an economy. The multiplier effect. One high-impact entrepreneur creates hundreds of jobs, inspires thousands of entrepreneurs, and the cycle continues, states Linda Rottenberg. And an ancient Chinese proverb says, if you want 1 year of prosperity, grow grain. If you want 10 years of prosperity, grow trees. If you want 100 years of prosperity, grow people. Innovation, creativity, education, are all needed to create transformation in the emerging world. When societies begin to produce enough food for people to leave the land, the excess labor gets trained and educated and begins working in services and industry. That leads to innovation and better education and universities, freer markets, economic growth, better infrastructure, fewer diseases, and slower population growth, according to Thomas L. Friedman. The emerging world is looking for people of integrity, people with an entrepreneurial mindset. Thomas L. Friedman also says, "Feed a person a fish, and you have fed that person for a day. Teach a person to fish, and you have fed that person for a lifetime. Help that person to grow a fishing business, and you will have fed not only his family, but also half the village." Look at the nations and observe. Be utterly astounded, for something is taking place in your days that you will not believe even when you hear about it. Habakkuk 1:5.